So Brian, Anaya, Brian.
Hey, good to see you
Brian, nice
again.
to meet you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I actually saw the one stop code shop. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, definitely, definitely. What'd you
Yeah,
think?
I really liked your guys' project,
Awesome,
and
thanks, appreciate it.
what I liked about it was it's useful. I'm a software engineer, so I learn new things all the time.
Sure.
And one stop code shop was a great concept to aggregate searching for information and uh, learning things. One of the things I like to do when I'm learning something is get different perspectives from different sources, and that's what you guys did, right?
Yeah, right off the bat, I think it was Jordan that when we initially started hypothesizing what we were going to do for a project, we were all struggling through the first few weeks of the boot camp and everything like that, and that just I think Jordan came up with it, and it just made sense. It's like let's make something that everybody can use, that everybody can build off of, and maybe not just this cohort, but the cohorts that follow. Maybe we can make something easier so that people can actually just learn using this and not have to struggle like we did. So that's what we
Yeah.
were shooting for.
But yeah, I got to work with Anaya and a bunch of other students in a 6-month boot camp, learning the full stack, JavaScript stack, the MERN stack, Mongo, Express, React, and Node. And it was a fantastic experience. I was with them for about half of that class, and
Okay.
and you and I got to go to their project demo recently.
So this was the class where you were a TA.
Yep, I was a
Okay.
teacher's assistant, and the infamous Ron Chambers was the lead instructor, and Jose, my partner in crime on the TA front. And Ane was gracious enough. I asked the students via Slack. I said, "Hey, are any of you interested in doing a quick interview to see how the boot camp was, what you thought of it, coming out of it? Full honesty. Was it worth it? Did you like it? What was good about it? What was your favorite part?" And Anea said, "Yeah, happy to."
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's a
Absolutely.
popular topic. There's hundreds of boot camps out there. People are taking them like candy. They just keep popping boot camps. They're
Sure.
everywhere, and so it's. I think a lot of people are interested if in what the current state of boot camps are and how they're going and stuff.
That's a
Yeah, definitely. And I can see the reservation, and for some people, I mean, the boot camps are kind of expensive. They're not super cheap. Um, but to answer that right away, if it was worth it or not, this boot camp absolutely was worth it for me.
Sweet.
I would do it 100% over again. And the reason for it is that it's not so much the curriculum that you're going to get from a boot camp that is the biggest benefactor here. It's the interaction that you have with the other students and the teachers. It's the connections that you build and the pace at which you build them. So we were together for 6 months, but I honestly built a family. I mean, like some of these I still hang out with them every other day type of thing.
That's cool.
wow.
And it's awesome because we push each other to learn. Everybody's there for the same thing, so everybody's kind of just pushing each other, and even with the teachers, the teachers like Josh and Ron. I mean, I gotta say we got phenomenally lucky because there are plenty of boot camps out there that if you don't get a good teacher, then that's 6 months that you're gonna be struggling. Like you're because there's just so much material. I mean, they call it boot camp, but it's actually boot camp. You know what I mean? Like it's you're putting in 30 to 40 to sometimes 50 extra hours outside of your class every week. It's really intense. And if you're working, if you have kids, like that, it's pretty wild. Like it gets really intense. So the help from that you get from TAs and the help that you get from teachers that are actually invested is huge.
Cool. Yeah. Josh, you mentioned pop-in boot camps like candy. I think that would be a good rap song.
Yeah, I'll
And
make
if
it.
you guys want to do another collaboration after this,
Definitely.
what can you tell us a little bit about your background? So, do you have a full-time job? Do you have kids? Do you have family? Or
So
what's your
I have
history and how did you make the decision to do a boot camp?
sure. So I work for the state. I've been working for the state for going on 9 years now, and
State of California.
yeah, state of California. Sorry. And I've been gravitating towards more technical roles, but I haven't actually held a very technical role in the state. It's always been analytical. It's always been um, just things that you chase just because the ladder kind of puts you in that spectrum, or you chase it for the money even. So I made a decision last year that I was good at certain things. I was good at the more technical side. I was always fixing everybody's computer. I was always handling a lot of the requests before they got to the service desk type of thing. And I decided, I'm just going to start and make a change. I'm going to just go into the programming world, because I had coded a few just basic HTML sites, and I've always enjoyed it. Plus, I have a very design background. I come from photography like Josh.
That's
and
right. You can see the nice lens in the background.
Yeah. So and I'm kind of artistically inclined in some ways. So like my design, or my front end, I guess you could say, came more naturally than my back end, and I just wanted to marry it with something to kind of polish it off and become full stack type of thing.
That's
be able
the
to.
ism of the day.
Yeah.
Go ahead, repeat it.
My front end came easier than my back end.
He was.
Yeah.
He wanted to put them together, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I started to kind of pursue my options in that respect, and I started kind of looking at online classes and online YouTube courses and everything like that. But this jumped out at the perfect time. Like the advert for this is so weird, because I was in the middle of literally thinking about, hey, you know what? I'm gonna try and take a boot camp, just because my buddy's company was hiring at the time, and I wish I could apply to that job, but I don't have the background. I don't have the anything to show for it that I could attempt these things. So
was it Facebook?
Right.
Was it on?
It
Facebook?
was Facebook. Yeah, it was on Facebook. I was on there. I was chatting with my buddy, and I swear to God, it just popped up, and I was like, "Oh man, Mark."
Chatting. He was actually chatting about it.
Mark.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was the
So
new advertising module that reads your thoughts and gives you targeted advertising based on
whatever
that.
the hell it was. I put it in the direct message, and it popped up.
Direct
maybe
messenger
seconds
message?
after. Yeah.
Oh,
So.
wow.
But at the same time, I'm grateful. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm like, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. You're listening like NSA style, but that's fine. It worked out for me.
Thanks, Zach. Well, that's a cool, man. I'm really glad to hear. I know that there were a few times where you were questioning a little bit the value of the course.
Sure.
in the early, probably a quarter of the way through, when it was really tough. It was hard to see what the outcome was going to be. So I'm really glad to hear that you feel so positive about the overall outcome.
Sure. So I believe it was you, Josh, that actually brought up the term imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Imposter syndrome is something that every boot camper, I can't imagine anybody that would not get it. It's intense in boot camp, because you're surrounded by smart minds. You're surrounded by people that are actively working on the same project as you, or activity in the class. But some people are getting it a lot faster than others, and every single assignment is different. There's other people that are getting it. Sometimes you have a week where you're not getting anything, and you're like, why am I here? I don't, there's some people that think that I'm at a level where I'm not, and I think that, I kind of fooled myself into being here, and I probably shouldn't be here. But then you have another week where you're that guy, where you've got everything on lock. Everything is coming naturally, your code's flowing, and everybody else is struggling. So it's just something that everybody experiences, and it's something that is perfectly okay in a boot camp. And I found that out through you and through Ron and through, the support around me and everything like that. That's what the boot camps build, is this connection, this community that helps you learn to code. It's wonderful. That's
really cool. I remember bringing up that I had that feeling at work one of those days, and I slacked it out to the class. And a few people said that was encouraging to know that even after 15 years of programming, that can come up.
Josh, that week, that saved me. That seriously, that was at the perfect time, because that was a tough week, and I remember, and I think that's why you said it, is because you picked up on everybody's struggle for that week's assignment. You said that even at your level you were experiencing similar things, so that pushed a lot of people through, I think. So appreciate that.
Imposter syndrome is where you feel like you are an imposter. You shouldn't really be here doing this stuff because it's just hard, and you don't really know what's going on. Maybe you know what's going on, but you think that you should be better than you are, or faster than you are, or all the answers you should just know them because you're trained to do this, right? Does that sound like
Right.
an accurate description?
It is. And a lot of times it's also, you just had an assignment last week. You passed it. You got an A on it. But you don't remember anything. So that's huge because you're not carrying it to the next week. But the thing is, you are. Like, it's every week at a boot camp feels like that. It feels like you didn't retain, or you're not bringing anything from the past week with you.
But you don't realize how much you learned.
You don't realize how much you're learning, and you guys always said that, so that actually stands out so much now, because now I'm applying these skills in my job, and sorry, my cat's at the door, and now it's real. Like, I can, if I go over a piece of code that I was struggling with during the boot camp, now it's like it comes no problem. You know what I mean? I'm picking up all the things that I thought I didn't learn.
Yeah.
All I need is one passover, and I got it now. Like, it makes a lot of sense. The logic is there. So yeah, it's wild. It's you're compressing so many years into 6 months, and we're going over more languages and more methods of coding, and more frameworks and more everything than any coder has in history, to be honest, because it's like all of the it really is like that.
It's true,
because all of the most current languages, it's
It's
exponentially
because it's
growing.
JavaScript. That's why.
Well, it's exponentially growing. We're at the forefront, so it's the next cohort's going to have even more than us, type of thing. But
Brian calls it the JavaScript industrial engine.
Yeah,
Do I?
that's
You brought it up.
that's solid.
Sounds about right. I don't remember saying that, but
What was the best part of the boot camp?
The best part was probably, for me, the intensity and the camaraderie that intensity brings about.
Nice.
So when you've got applications that are due weekly, and you've got everybody stressing at the same level, and then when you build those teams, when you find those teams, and you're pushing each other, and you're meeting at coffee shops, or you're meeting at breweries, and you're coding over 6 different pints of beers, like, all around you, and everybody's kind of making breakthroughs on their code. That feels good. That feels awesome, and it's a good feeling. Like, it's something that you kind of then seek,
That's
so
cool.
we've been trying to do it still. We've been trying to meet up.
It's a gateway drug.
Work on our own. It is, honestly. It's addicting. Like, people said, some people said that it might be so intense that by the end of the 6 months you fall off of the code. I'm like 100 times on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Interesting.
I'm constantly watching videos now. Even when I drive, I have videos playing,
And that's
it's addicting.
And that's relatively. It's not guaranteed that you had a group that worked well together that didn't end up, one person getting mad at another because they pushed the code over in GitHub or something. So you guys were pretty lucky that you had a good team that melded well, that you got along with, that you're friends with now. That's pretty sweet.
Extremely fortunate.
Yeah.
But there's also other people in in the class, like Khan, for example. Khan was fantastic. I mean, he made the class extremely fun.
Yeah.
He wasn't in our group, so, and there was a lot of other people that were just, the whole class was family, honestly. It's
Cool.
I'm going to miss everybody.
What about the worst?
fantastic.
What was the worst part?
ooh,
Okay, the worst part is that, so you've got different, like I said, different languages, different frameworks that you're learning, and they're laid out in multiple activities and modules. So let's say that one framework, Express, will have 20 activities that you should technically be doing from the ground up in order to learn it. The problem is there's absolutely no time.
Yeah.
So you've got 20 activities, 25 activities, but they're broken out where we do about 3 of them or 4 of them
Or for
in that week.
5 minutes on this one and 10 minutes on
And
this
literally,
one.
yeah, exactly, like this. So what happens is that there's a ton of building blocks that you have to somehow integrate on your own. You do not get that from a boot camp. There's just no time. It's impossible, especially when you're cramming that many things. So the stress factor becomes a little bit problematic when you're Googling everything nonstop, and it's just, and this is exactly why we built One Stop Code Shop, is because you're sitting there 98% of the time just Googling and trying to find somebody that can explain this correctly or efficiently. So it was the perfect gateway. That struggle was the perfect gateway to building the application that we built, in other words.
So how did the projects go in general? You kind of started out with that one project early on, and then it took some steps.
Yeah. So initially, we started out with CSS, HTML. I had no problem with it. I have no problem with that at all, and it was fine. It was,
that first
I was
one,
like,
though,
I got this.
you had a little bit of like local storage and stuff on that very first one.
Yeah. But it just progressively, the backend got progressively more complex, and then there was a week where it just jumped in difficulty, and it was like a pretty drastic jump. So just at that week, I think that was the week that we talked about the imposter syndrome, like where it set in. That's where you have to just there's some areas, there's some peaks that you got to power through, like in terms of but gradually, like especially because on the activities, everybody's working on the same activity, and you can bounce off a lot of ideas. The most important thing that I can instill in the next cohort type of the most important advice, I guess, is use everyone around you. You're paying for it. You're paying for this class.
Yeah.
Don't just use the teachers. Don't just use the TAs. Use every single person. If somebody's kicking ass at something, go up to them and talk to them and see what they did, and then try to get ideas. Try to get snippets of code even, and log your snippets of code. Maintain all the snippets that you can,
Nice.
and then use them as a library. That's huge. I wish I would have done more of that.
You're giving some really good advice, Ine. This is going to be really valuable for upcoming students for sure.
I hope so. Yeah. That'd be great. That's the goal.
I really like that advice. I haven't done a boot camp, but even at work, a lot of times you can learn something 10 times faster by having a conversation with somebody than by reading a book about it.
Sure.
Or searching through the API documentation. You can always find what you need eventually. And I noticed in our industry, we deal with information, and not information as context and all this stuff around it, and not all of it is captured in documentation. And I really like that advice of use everybody around you, or use them as a resource to learn and help each other learn and talk.
Sure. And another thing is that it's important to learn how to learn. That's huge, especially because a lot of people that go into programming, a lot of us, are kind of antisocial, not necessarily antisocial, but more introverted than most people. I mean, it's just a higher percentage. It's just you kind of get into your computer and that's that. But it's extremely important to figure out how you learn best. Like whether it's through videos, whether it's through documentation, whether it's all that. But it's extremely important to build your own library of quick notes, of things that you keep pulling from, especially in application development, because you're going to reuse the same stuff over and over and over again. In coding, you use the same things over and over again. And I wasted so much time trying to find a snippet of code that I had already used, or which assignment I had already used it on, and yada yada. If I would have done it from the beginning, again, I would say, as you're building each assignment, as you're doing it, whenever there's a key function or a key just snippet of code that does something cool, take that, put it in your library, document it, hold on to it, and reuse it.
And he is pretty fantastic at documentation. He would come up with some notes that looked like professional white papers. He's very good at it.
Nice.
Do you want to screen share your computer and talk through your app, or would you like me to share it and walk me through it? Either way is fine.
You do it, and then we'll go through yours.
All right.
I don't have it up accessible right now.
While Josh is pulling that up, I wanted to ask, what did you learn about yourself through the experience? And I know that could be a big question, but maybe just anything that jumps out. You mentioned learning how to learn, so that's kind of what made me wonder, did you discover anything about how you learn, or even just being in the boot camp with high intensity and working with everybody? Yeah, just what did you learn about yourself going through this experience?
Definitely. Okay. So I'm I'm extremely hard on myself. Like, and I know I've always been for anything that I do. I if I'm not performing at like the top level,
You want to get it
then
perfect.
I'm obsessive over the perfectionist aspect of things, and that's impossible to do in coding. It's just not. You got to throw that out the window.
Especially in a boot
and it
camp.
took
Yeah.
and it took all 6 months for me to realize that. It took me coming out of the boot camp and acquiring a job that is making use of the boot camp to
nice.
understand. And that happened just recently.
Tell us about that.
So
Yeah, what's
Sure.
that story?
while I was going through this boot camp, there was a lot of opportunities for me to put coding and programming to use, and I started volunteering for them for other people. So they started lending me out to other units, and one unit in particular put me forefront on a particular type of migration from one system to another, and I was supposed to develop the second system, and I started doing that, and I started applying all the concepts. I actually started doing it in Angular, even though we didn't cover Angular. It just translated pretty easy from React to Angular.
That's pretty amazing.
I've been doing it in Angular, and it's going fantastic. And before, I had very, very little confidence in the sense that, like I was saying, sometimes you go through these assignments and you forget everything that you did that last week. So I was getting towards the end of the 6 months, and I was like, man, I can do a lot of things. I know I've been learning them, but I'm still at the point where if you give me a problem, I'm fumbling. I gotta Google and try to figure out, like how I can understand the code easily. I can read it and fully know what everything is doing, but I can't come up with it on my own. Like it's difficult for me to just use ingenuity and have that database in my head. That database is still stored in Google. But with the actual application of a real job, when you get it, kind of, here's some advice. After the boot camp, after going through all of that, you have it. So throw all of that apprehension and all of that worry out the window. Apply for the job. Apply for jobs that have languages that are even not what you covered.
Ooh.
And just get the job, because your mind has it. Your logic is there. You just need to be placed into a position where you have to do it. You have to perform because it's your job, and your brain will do it. It's weird how it works, but that's exactly how it works. And I'm like finding it out right now, and the confidence is shooting through the roof. So it's necessary. You need to put yourself in the stuff.
I like his attitude.
It's fantastic.
That's my philosophy too. I like software engineering, which means I'll pick up any language you give me. Of course, I have preferences, but I make it a point to try to understand the fundamentals so that I can switch languages with relative ease, and then it's just a matter of picking up the syntax. And I like your attitude about that. It's good.
Right.
So this is pretty cool. First, just right off the bat, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And just the fact that it's a full stack app. It's got Node and React, and it's obviously hosted at Heroku, so there's a dynamic aspect of it there. There's database. So walk us through it.
And Heroku is actually one of our sponsors.
Nice. Right on. So I'm actually going to take this time to, if you could go back to the homepage or the splash page.
I should have, yeah.
I would like to ask a question if maybe you guys know how to do this, because I would like to do this and I wasn't able to.
Ooh,
so initially, this brain was supposed to slowly fill up with water, with knowledge, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So I
This
can
is
do
his
that.
design mind coming in.
I can do that with a circle, but I can't do it with this shape. And I drew this out. I drew that brain. So it's a PNG, and it doesn't have it doesn't have like borders or anything.
Yep.
It's just it's a PNG. So if there's anyone that knows how to do that I could crop it out by a shape. If you can crop out CSS using shape coordinates, that would be fantastic. I would.
So SVGs are your friend. This is a vector. This has the potential to be completely vector.
Okay.
And SVGs have the ability to have CSS
applied
attributes
to
and animation to the paths and to the shapes and things.
Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, you could definitely do it with SVG.
And Josh could help you do it in like 30 minutes.
I could get you to initial state, but a lot of times with SVGs, you have to optimize them and get them in just the right types of optimized paths to work well. it can take a while. But
Well,
but
if you could show me on like an oblong shape, that's the simple shape, then I'll take care of the rest. I'll learn the rest, but I'll figure out
sweet.
the idea. That'd be awesome.
And-
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
if anybody watching knows how to do that, leave a comment for Ania.
And that was the goal of me saying that. So
We almost missed that opportunity.
Dang, we gotta have you on more often. I'm trying to remember the name of there's a SVG animation library. Dang, it's not coming to mind. I'll find it for you.
I'm sure you can
Okay.
Google it.
All right,
I'll
cool.
Put it in the show notes. Okay, so
Sweet.
that's enough for the splash page.
Yes. Yes.
When he gets it figured out, we should have him back on and do a demo,
Yeah, that'd be cool. All
like
right.
a tutorial.
Sure.
All right,
That'd
sorry.
be awesome.
No worries. Okay, walk
Okay.
us through it. What's the goal of the site first, and then how does it
Okay.
work?
So when you're programming, when you're coding, like I would say a good 95% of the time, you're trying to solve a problem and you're trying to solve an issue, a question that you have. So right off the bat, you've got a single search bar. There's nothing else. So it's very plain. The site's very plain because all you are supposed to do technically is just start with a question. So you can write anything in there. And right now you're not logged in, so you'll have limited functionality. You're not going to be able to save anything or anything like that, but that's fine. So what we wanted to do is there's an order of procedure when you're programming where you hit certain websites for certain resources. So you hit YouTube, you hit Stack Overflow, you hit W3 Schools, your standard stuff. And we wanted a place that you didn't have to jump around from site to site, and you didn't have to kind of sift through the rating systems that every site has in order to get the top rated answers or the top rated posts. We did all that for you, basically. So initially starting out, you're basically, if you look at that menu on the left, it says main, YouTube, Stack Overflow. So right now you're basically in the main view, which has a list of everything that it queried. So it queried. You don't have to. You don't have to sign in yet, but
I think I do have a sign-in saved.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Should I wait though? Should I?
Yeah.
should I
Go
see
ahead and
the-
wait. Go ahead and wait right now.
Okay, I'll wait.
Just so that you can see functionality when you're just a
Yeah.
guest.
Oh wait, let me go back. Hold on. By the way, I love that login screen. Really cool.
That's all Jordan. Jordan killed it with that. I agree. I love it as well. It's beautiful for the site. Okay, so you've got these, and these are all just APIs that we're leveraging. So we're leveraging YouTube, we're leveraging Stack Overflow. We haven't yet hit Amazon and GitHub, but we've got Bing and we've got a forum. So right now you're seeing all of them. So if you scroll down, so you've got
I see.
YouTube first, and then you've got your Stack Overflow, and these are all currently, these will take you out of our site to those links, but they're sorted by most rated and most valuable to this question, basically.
Awesome.
This is great.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's asking us if we know how to do the SVG animation. He's got all the information right here at his fingertips.
No, he didn't know SVGs could do the.
Oh, okay, there you go. So you have
Yeah,
to know the
yeah.
question to ask, I guess.
And so when you actually select one of those tabs on the left, then you can select it again. So now it'll take you to each individual,
Very cool.
stack. So now you
Yeah.
can go to YouTube and everything like that. And when you log in, you can actually save articles and whatnot. See, right now they're grayed out. So underneath each video, you'll see that it's not accessible because it's grayed out, the favoriting.
Should I log in now?
Yeah, go ahead and log in.
I just want to make sure I did save the. Oops. Don't look at my LastPass passwords.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Open it
Show
up.
the chat.
Yeah, show the chat. So we've got
Where do I go?
bottom
Bottom
right.
right there.
Bottom right.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we've got this. And you know what? It might be the socket not playing very nice with Heroku, but I think it'll still work if you open another instance and do that.
2.0.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah. So basically, the idea here is this: is that we wanted a way for a community to come together and help answer each other's questions. So we're building this site so that everybody here has a common goal. So anybody that's logged in is either there to learn or there to help. There's two reasons for you. And when you're there to learn, you're there to help. It goes without saying. They go hand in hand. So
And yeah,
Yes, sir.
how old are you?
32.
Okay. Are you familiar with IRC?
I am. Yeah.
You are? Okay. I would love to see like an IRC integration and like suggested IRC chat rooms on Freenode based on my searches. So if I search something JavaScript, it brings up the JavaScript Freenode IRC.
That's an awesome
cool.
idea.
Just a thought I had.
Okay. Yeah.
Given the chat thing,
and that's the thing,
Yeah.
like with all of the APIs that we're leveraging with all the stacks, that list is just gonna increase, and it's gonna get longer and longer and longer. So you're from one place, one stop, code shop, you can access all these different areas. You know, you never have to leave this site. We actually even want to integrate a coding interface so that you can test code in here. You know, kind of like a coding sandbox.
That's a sweet animation there.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Yeah, so it's cool. We actually went out and took pictures of everybody. I took everybody's portrait, and like we went downtown
Awesome.
and did this for the. Yeah, so this is the about site. It just kind of gives a brief explanation as to what we were trying to achieve, and then this. Go ahead.
I was going to ask about documentation. Is
Yeah.
it official documentation?
So
or-
no, not yet. This is kind of a placeholder right now, but in it,
Okay.
so it's going
It's
to.
about how to use the site.
It's
It's pretty cool though. It does give you a good overview.
Yeah,
of what's in
it's
there.
going to. It
Definitely.
just requires a lot more explanation that I haven't put in. So it requires,
Yeah.
pop-ups, and it requires little.
They have a
little
forum
things.
too.
Yes, sir. we
This
do.
site is fully featured. I'm really impressed with
Yeah.
how much you guys put together for a bootcamp project.
Yeah, the team. I couldn't have asked for a better team because what they did with with the back end and the database communication and stuff like that, like just Roger, Colin, Jordan, Celia. And,
Do you know if anyone
Elaine.
else on your team has found work yet post bootcamp?
I don't know that they found new work, but I have no. The people on my team are phenomenal, so they will not have any issues finding work. Like they're just
Yeah.
fantastic individuals. I mean, they're for the 6 months that they were in this boot camp, it's pretty shocking how talented some of these kids are. It's wild. So I was very fortunate because I got to learn a
Should we
lot
bring
from
him
them.
back to the screen?
Oh yeah, we can put you over here now. Anything else on the site you want to show us?
No, just so on the forum, if you go back to the forum, because they did a lot of work on that. So you can create posts and the idea here is as well is that you've got your question and then you're kind of creating your profile because we'll show that too. But you're creating your profile where you're saving all of your resources. So you're building an almost like a schema for answering this particular question. And the goal is, and you're doing that through forum answers or through if somebody in a forum answers your question, then that goes into
I
your schema.
apologize.
No, you're fine.
I have a Grammarly plugin that's messing up your.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, I thought they built that.
No, Grammarly will tell you if you make a mistake. And it doesn't like my SVG.
I see that commercial all the time for Grammarly. Is it good?
I need it
Okay.
because I think I can spell well, but I type words that are not spelled right.
Ah, gotcha.
Quite a
Yeah,
bit.
Roger, you listening? Yeah.
How much of this project? How much did you guys leverage open source software?
Good question.
Um,
I guess React is open source.
React is open source.
yeah, all of it, I would say. I mean, there's I can't think of anything.
Node
that's,
is open
yeah.
source, right?
Well, Heroku has a free tier. Not that that's open source, but
Heroku's not open source for their platform, but
But everything else that we've
the
used
whole
to
MERN
code,
stack is open
yeah,
source.
it's all open
right?
source.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the forum. Did you guys create this from scratch? Did you use a library or a framework that you integrated?
It's Materialize. So like
it's from scratch basically. Materialize is helping style it, but everything's built from
yeah,
scratch.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's but yeah, a lot of the styles are leveraging various things like Bootstrap and.
Oh sure,
and,
yeah. So Materialize and Material
Correct.
UI. That's open source UI framework.
Yep.
How about the chat?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's nice. That's
Just
Celia.
Socket.io.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
right?
Socket.io.
Okay.
And so,
And
go ahead.
what else do we have? And the search. That was all APIs that were open.
Yes.
So you guys put this whole project together, and you were really able to leverage open source, which I think is great. I read an article. I don't want to get too off topic, but I did read an article recently that people are less involved in open source these days, and it's got me thinking about that. Yeah.
Interesting. If you will you go back one more thing,
yeah,
just real quick, because this was the goal as well.
Yeah.
Is that if you click on my profile button,
Right.
so after
we close this.
yeah. So
Sweet.
in here is where all your favorites and your submissions are going to go, and or they go, and then your inbox if you get any messages. But then also we're intending to build a a card, a profile schema that answers a question. So once a question has fully been answered and you've used a certain resources, certain stacks and certain APIs and stuff to answer that question, that gets marked as answered, kind of like it does on Stack Overflow or on any forums or anything like that. And then ideally the community would upvote on this schema that was used to answer that question. So instead of just a single forum that answers that question, that maybe some people that learn differently, whether some people need video, some people need description, some people need audio, whatever. Well, this is all in one. So that gets upvoted. So when somebody comes to the site and asks a question in a forum or asks a question in the chat, the power users or the people that have frequented this site can immediately say, oh, check out, upvoted post number 13 or something like that. That should be the schema that would help you solve that question.
So you guys know this could be a viable thing that took off. Is it hard not to spend all your time on it, especially as a group?
Not immediately after the boot camp. Everybody I think is like is ready for it's ready for a break right now. So I think we're taking a little bit of time off, but everybody's super stoked on this assignment, and everybody wants to keep working on it and make it a thing, and we want to keep it open source. We want to it be really awesome to just have this to help people, you know what I mean, to help the next cohorts, to help new coders, because we went through that struggle, and it'd be cool. It would be awesome. It would help us as well.
Before we finish, I want to make sure I ask, do you guys have any asks for this project?
What do you mean by asks? Like, what
you need help with anything that you want to put out to the internet? If anybody sees this video and they're like, hey, that's cool, and you have a need, you just ask. You can ask right now what you're looking for.
I wish I was more prepared
for this.
Maybe
the magic of the internet will meet your needs.
Well, is this repo, is the repo open source right now? Do you guys have the repo for this on GitHub?
Yes, it should be open source, and it's on GitHub.
If you want,
and you can find it through our about
it's on the
us,
site too.
So
if you want to link that in the show notes, we could link. People could fork it. They could suggest. They could add tests to it. Whatever, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, and just ideas also. Everything's welcomed. So I mean, we want to make this good for the community. We want to make this better. So we're open to suggestions. And
so your ask is for additional ideas and
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, feedback, exactly. Like if especially from more advanced programmers, it's what are you using now that would solve a lot of issues for you in this current state. Now that you've got 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, you're using different resources than the average beginner. Well, we would definitely like to expand this not just for beginners but also for more advanced, programmers. So like what would you like to see in this one-stop code shop that would help you in a programming session, so that you wouldn't need to leave the site.
And this was awesome. I'm so glad you agreed to this. I'm incredibly thankful. I think you gave some amazing advice. So I'm going to try really hard to get this into a 30-minute video that works well for people to consume quickly, because I think the advice was really good. And I think actually some students in my current class will be really encouraged by what you said, so I want to get it out to them really quickly. In fact, there's one guy who's had back pain and missed a couple of sessions, and he feels like he's behind, and I want to encourage him and stuff. But yeah, this is great.
Right on. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
And I'd like to do a shameless plug. I'm going to start an Elixir channel. So you mentioned you like learning new languages and all that. So if you'd like to come learn some Elixir, it's a functional programming language, so those concepts can carry to other languages as well. then follow me over to the channel that I have yet to create, but I will create very soon.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Anea, other than your project, do you have anything else that you want to share?
Yeah. My team is awesome. Once again, thank you for the team. Thank you for Ron. Ron was our teacher. Ron was phenomenal.
Yeah, I meant to talk about Ron a little bit
Yeah.
and just brag on him. He was a phenomenal teacher.
On it.
He did so great.
And he runs his own business too, right?
He does, yeah.
No, but on the level of inspiration and and belief in his class and stuff and everything that guy did, how much he went through. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
The time. That
Sorry, my son.
No, it's okay.
So it was phenomenal.
You
Like,
go.
hey.
Why?
Yeah, come here, come say hi.
Sorry it took
Say
so
hi,
long,
Josh.
Anea.
Hi,
No,
John.
it's all good.
Hi,
Say
Anea.
hi.
Hi, John.
Josh,
Hi, John.
what's all over your face? Gross.
Hi, John.
So Ron was fantastic. I mean, like, we got super lucky, and
My hands are clean.
nice,
They're all
yeah,
clean.
good job. And we got super lucky. So shout out to everybody in the
what
class,
is
and
that
it was
thing?
awesome.
What is
Fantastic.
that, Dad?
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
So-
Anea.
No problem.
Well,
It's all right.
let's wrap it up.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Anea. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
You as well.
Talk
Take
to you
care.
soon.
Take care.